And I would imagine you also even see the chaos and the people and all the hustling and bustling as silence also.
Well, imagine for a moment if you actually saw your consciousness. You imagine that you can see silence, see it. What does it look like? It looks like a field of self-awareness. The seeing of it is inside of the experience. And when the seeing of silence is inside the experience, then it's like a cosmic eye. It does not eliminate what you would say or somebody else might say is out there. It says, I am that also, because you're within the silence. The silence is everywhere. The sight doesn't come out of the silence when it's looking at the tree or the bird or the other person. It stays inside, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's an excerpt from, this is a little bit longer one, from an excerpt from the blog post entitled The Wonderful Diversity of Unbounded Awareness. I hear personified intelligence. I see personified intelligence. And interrupt me if you want to comment as I go, if I haven't finished.
Okay.
I am aware of and participate in a divine social structure of divine beings of nature. We cohabit all the layers of creation in complete harmony and natural awareness. The fullness and complete divinity of this space is my oneness with God. With the divine social hierarchy that is kept lively by the dynamics of the eternal relationship of God and His creations, I realize that the Absolute does not break up and the relative does not emerge. I am both realities together in their fullness. And I actually think this other part is from later on in the thing, so maybe you want to comment on that first part.
You would pick that one.
I like that stuff.
What I'm talking about is the subtle, let's call it the subtle relative. The subtlest aspect of relativity, where consciousness is very lively and these kind of experiences can be had and are being had by any consciousness that's dwelled in pure consciousness for some time and become habituated to pure consciousness begins to see the subtle relative as well. The subtle relative is extremely close to pure consciousness, extremely close. It's part of the fabric of pure consciousness. And in terms of God, you know, starting from the grossest level, people are devoted to God, right? They're devoted, yes, give me this, I want my children to be happy, I want whatever I want. And then as consciousness grows, you begin to sense on a feeling level of God's presence, right? Maybe in your heart. You say, oh, well, what is this? It feels like God is in my heart or in my consciousness somehow. And then as that gets clearer and clearer, perhaps the senses get involved in that experience as well. You know, great Christian mystics have described how they see the heavens and the hosts of heavens and all these hierarchies, and so have the Hindus, and so have the Muslims, and the Buddhists have all talked about these levels. I'm not talking about them as something that you go after. I'm talking about them as part of the experience of pure consciousness becoming clearer and clearer and seeing the fine fabrics of its own nature, your own nature. That's how I'm talking about it.
Here's something related to that.
Okay.
From the same essay, I experience innumerable beings of light flowing into a centered heaven that is my heart, a universal space of cosmic and individual dimensions, a huge cosmic cone of energy structured from millions of devas, all streaming into my heart, the heart of God. I experience this one great creator, the one great God, shining self-effulgent in the center of creation. What a wonderful secret.
Maybe we should have kept it a secret. Yes, that's my experience. And
all the time? Or when you tune into it?
One of the things that happens, which is kind of interesting, a little bit of an offshoot on this. Years ago, I'd have to go somewhere. You know, if somebody had asked me a question, I'd say, oh, let me think. Yes, okay. And then at least I could go there and I could find an answer. Now, in the last so many years, I don't go anywhere. You know, whatever I experience comes out of my mouth. If it doesn't come out, I don't have it. Now, that particular experience is, what to say about it? It's there, and it's simple. Every experience is simple. It sounds glorious, and it is glorious, but it's also so simple it's not funny. And I have to say at this point is that all these experiences that I describe they're infinitely simple. And the reason they're infinitely simple is because they're in terms of the self, which is the simplest state of awareness. Right? And if they're in terms of the self, that means they're close to the self, or they're reflected in the self, or they are the self. Therefore, they are very simple. Everybody can have them. Anybody can have them. That's what I'm trying to say. Anybody can have flashy experiences, but they come from that established state of silence.